Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction video for a new series I will be starting for the game Evil Within 1. This will cover the base game and the 3 DLCs that were released. Evil Within 1 will have a Config and Tech video following the introduction video. In the Config and Tech video, I'll cover a single mod I will be using, so there is no need for a dedicated modding video. I hope you enjoy the information and that it gives you the best Evil Within 1 experience you can have. Any links that are covered will be in the description of the video. The Evil Within 1 was developed by Tango Gameworks. The company was based out of Tokyo, Japan, and founded by Shinji Mikami in 2010, formerly of Capcom. During the same year of 2010, Tango Gameworks was acquired by ZeniMax Media, the parent company of Bethesda Softworks. In 2021, ZeniMax Media was acquired by Microsoft. And in 2023, Shinji Mikami announced he would be leaving Tango Gameworks. Shortly after this, in 2024, Microsoft shut down 4 gaming development studios, including Tango Gameworks. The company was officially labeled as defunct on June 14th, 2024. This topic would need a whole video to break all of this down. I'm not interested in doing that, but other people already have. You can find informational videos on YouTube if you are interested. I will, however, give my 2 cents on it here. Microsoft only wants to put money into best-selling games, so the smaller developers and creative, unique games got shut down. It's awful for gamers, and people who either don't have jobs now or don't get to work on games that they enjoy making. Good AAA horror games that aren't Resident Evil are few and far between. Sadly, we'll probably never see an Evil Within 3, let alone an Evil Within 1 remake, which it deserves. Tango Gameworks is best known for games such as Ghostwire Tokyo, Hi-Fi Rush, and The Evil Within. To talk a little bit about Shinji Mikami, he started working in the game industry for Capcom back in 1990 through 2004. He directed Resident Evil 1 in 1996, as well as Dino Crisis 1 in 1999. Both games came out on the PlayStation 1 console. Later in 2002, Shinji Mikami was the director of Resident Evil 1 Remake, released on the Nintendo GameCube. I've played the remaster of this remake on PC if you want to see it. It can be found in a playlist on the Home tab of my channel. The final Resident Evil game Shinji Mikami would work on was Resident Evil 4, released on the Nintendo GameCube in 2005. A remaster was released in 2014 on PC called the Ultimate HD Edition. In 2023, Resident Evil 4 received a remake, which Shinji Mikami had nothing to do with, but gave his blessing. I think all he said was, "I hope they improve the story or the way it was told." The original Resident Evil 4 was well received upon release for its graphics, gameplay, and innovations. Not all Resident Evil fans were happy with the new direction of the series. The game adopted an over-the-shoulder view with no fixed camera angles and a different control scheme. Choosing to go down the path of more action-adventure than survival horror, at least when compared to the classic trilogy of Resident Evil games. Resident Evil 4 inspired and influenced games such as BioShock, Dead Space, and Uncharted, just to name a few. If you look at the modern Resident Evil games, such as the remakes for 2 and 3, they are following in Resident Evil 4's footsteps. So that says something about what Shinji Mikami achieved back in 2005. I can understand the complaints regarding the differences from both sides of fans. I personally like both the classic Resident Evil and the modern Resident Evil games. Neither are bad types of Resident Evil games, they just evoke a different feeling when you play. The classic series is more slow and calculating, while the modern games are more fast-paced and direct. That being said, in 2005, Capcom was trying to make Resident Evil more commercial and modernize the series. The Resident Evil series as a whole would not be what it is today if not for this change, for better or for worse. This all leads up to the Evil Within series, where Shinji Mikami continued to build upon what he started with Resident Evil 4, without restraints or having to worry about Capcom's approval. It's interesting to me that Shinji Mikami made his exit from Tango Gameworks just a year before its closure. Kind of seems like he knew it was coming based on the time frame. I'm not saying that is true, just my opinion from the outside. Shinji Mikami has stated that he wanted to leave the company for many years before the closure. He wanted to branch out and do something different than the survival horror games he is known for. I'm not sure why he couldn't have done that within Tango Gameworks. Maybe his team specialized in making horror games, I don't know. At the same time, he also wanted to finish projects he was involved with at Tango Gameworks, and to leave the company in a good state so they could be self-sufficient when he left. Shinji Mikami has brought a lot to the game industry and the horror genre with Resident Evil and the lesser-known series Evil Within. I wish him the best of luck with future games and genres. Let's go over game information here. This game was built in the id Tech 5 game engine, originally made by id Software, who made Doom. It's an older version of the engine now, as id Tech 8 will be coming out just around the corner, probably in 2005, I guess. If you're a fan of the previously mentioned Resident Evil 4 and beyond, you'll probably like what the Evil Within has to offer. This game is pretty graphic in parts, but it's a survival horror game, so it should be. In Japan, the game was titled Psycho Break and had a lot of the content censored. It's funny to me, a lot of good horror games come out of Japan, but they can't even play them in their original form. The first Evil Within is more linear survival horror experience, while Evil Within 2 has a more open world feel to it. Judged on their own, they are both great games. Compared together, they do have some core differences. You may prefer one or the other, or like me, you may enjoy both. The Evil Within is one of my favorite horror games, and I hope you'll enjoy my playthrough of the game. The music for the game is done by Masafumi Takada. The vocals for the opening credits theme song, Long Way Down, is sung by Gary Newman. I didn't realize this for the longest time, and not when I first played the game. If you don't know who Gary Newman is, check him out. He has a lot of really good music. I'll provide some links in the video description for reference. Another song of interest in the game is a classical piece called Clair de Lune. It was written by the classical composer Claude Debussy. I'm not sure how copyrights work on classical music, but I may have to edit this out of the videos. I hope I don't, as it's played often throughout the game. If you are interested in speedrunning the Evil Within games, please check out the YouTube channel at Jigsaw Killer. Jigs is a phenomenal player at these games, and I've learned a lot about them from his videos. Tons of respect to him for his time and dedication to these games. I imagine he is heartsick over Tango Gameworks closure, but not surprised. Check out Jigs' videos for some masterclasses on game mechanics. A little bit about the playthrough progression. I want to explain how I'll be going about this playthrough. I intend to play through the base game of Evil Within 1, then go directly to the 3 DLCs that the game has. I'll cover these DLCs a little further in the video in more detail. When you beat the main game and 2 of the DLCs, you unlock a 3D model viewer and information about characters and enemies. Modern Resident Evil games generally provide this sort of thing regularly. I think this stuff is interesting and that people would like to see it. At the end of the base game and the 2 DLCs, I'll post a video for each playthrough respectively, showing you any 3D models and reading any written material they may have. Since this is a story-driven and in-depth game, there will be normal commentary throughout the playthrough. I will be creating 4 separate playlists for the Evil Within 1. 1 for the base game and 3 for each DLC that I will be playing. Now I would like to cover some information about collectibles, unlockables, and cheats. I'll put any links I talk about here in the gameplay part 1 video description of each respective playthrough. So first we'll start with Evil Within 1, the base game. So there are 106 collectibles, 106, in the Evil Within 1 base game that fall into 6 groups. If you find them all, you get the Every Nook and Cranny achievement. The collectibles are mostly just for fun and give you more story and lore. However, one group of collectibles will give you some extra weapons. We'll cover this more in a moment. Let's look at the collectible groups. So the first one is personal documents, and there is 16 total. Then you have documents, which there are 16 total as well. Map fragments, 28 total. And if you get all of these 28 map fragments, you get awarded 2 weapons, 2 unique weapons. Newspapers, of which there is 21 total. Missing persons posters, 15 total. And New Game Plus is required to get one of them, the 15th, the last one. And then the next category is audio tapes, and there's 10 total audio tapes. So finding all the map fragments will reward you with a burst handgun, a semi-automatic weapon. I'll put a screenshot up on the screen here so you can see what it looks like. You're also given a high penetration sniper rifle, armor piercing. So those 2 weapons you get for all the map fragments. There are also 45 locker keys in the game world, and there's also 2 locker keys in the lockers themselves, adding up to a total of 47 locker keys. I'll put a screenshot up for you to see what they look like. The lockers are in the safe hub zone of the game and contain healing items and ammo items, and also an item used for upgrades, green gel. The keys are all in a certain type of statue that you can destroy. I'll put a screenshot up for you to see what that looks like. Sometimes you can just punch them, and other times they need to be shot with your handgun, for instance. These locker keys do not count towards the Every Nook and Cranny achievement. They do count towards the achievement Master of Unlocking. This is a throwback to a classic line of dialogue in the original Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1.
This mansion is gigantic. We could get into trouble if we get lost. We should start from the first floor, okay? And Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the Master of Unlocking, take it with you.
Thanks. Maybe I'll need it.
In general, you want to keep an eye out for these statues to get these locker keys. Having extra items in your pockets in a survival horror game is never a bad thing. So that goes over the collectibles there for the base game. Now we're going to go over unlockables for the base game. So you'll unlock several bonuses for completing the game. Extra weapons like a machine gun and a rocket launcher, 3D character models, and written information. Nightmare and Akumu difficulties and New Game Plus. If the player completes the game in Akumu mode, they'll unlock the Brass Knuckles weapon. I'll put up a screenshot for you to see what that looks like. The Brass Knuckles one-shot most enemies, maybe not bosses. You're also given 50,000 extra gel to use for upgrades in New Game Plus. Okay, now we're going to cover the Evil Within 1 DLC assignment. This DLC consists of 2 chapters, with 29 total collectibles. I couldn't find pictures for the DLC collectibles, so you'll have to use your imagination. So I'll break this down by the 2 chapters. Chapter 1, An Oath. Personal files, there's 2. Research documents, 3. Letter scraps, 4. Models, 3. Unlocks 3D models. They look like a snail, like the logo for Tango Gameworks. And you have to focus your flashlight on them to uncover them. And then the last category would be tracks. There's 2 total, and they unlock music. They look like a gold record in the game. Chapter 2, Crossing Paths. There's 2 personal files, 4 research documents, 4 letter scraps, 2 models, and 3 tracks. As far as unlockables go, completing the DLC unlocks the difficulty mode called Kuriyami. Translated, this means darkness or the dark. The environmental lighting is turned off, and you have to rely on your flashlight, as far as what I remember. Now I'll go to the next DLC called Consequence. This DLC consists of 2 chapters and has 29 collectibles. So it would start with Chapter 3, Illusions. There's 2 personal files, 4 research documents, 4 letter scraps, 2 models, and 3 tracks. Chapter 4, A Ghost is Born. 1 personal file, 4 research documents, 4 letter scraps, 3 models, and 2 tracks. And the same unlockables apply. Completing the DLC unlocks the difficulty mode called Kuriyami. Translated, this means darkness or the dark. The environmental lighting is turned off, and you have to rely on your flashlight. This takes us to the 3rd DLC, called Executioner. This DLC consists of 1 chapter, with 46 collectibles. Chapter 1, Victoriano Manor. Not sure of the actual chapter name, but this is where it takes place. So you'll be looking for 14 Daughter's Diaries, 14 Mobius files. 9 of those are Mobius directives, and 5 are subject transcripts. And then something called torments, which there are 18 total. Performing fatalities on enemies awards unlimited ammo in the shop. That's basically what torments are. So you have to perform 18 of the unique torment or fatality moves on enemies throughout the playthrough, and then you get awarded unlimited ammo, which would be pretty sweet. So, collectibles conclusion. That is a total of roughly 255 things to find or do across the base game and the 3 DLCs. As much as I would love to tell you that I can show you all of this, I cannot do so. I do have experience with this game, but I don't know by memory where all of this stuff is. Trust me, the gameplay videos wouldn't be very pretty if I tried to find all this stuff. It would require heavy routing, and my focus is going to be on playing semi-decent. That being said, I always try to do and show as much as I can in my playthroughs within reason. I will be looking for as many collectibles as I can, because I like to find stuff too in games. So this isn't a 100% collectibles playthrough, and I won't be following any of the guides that I've discussed with you in this video. Okay, Easter eggs, secrets, and bonuses. There is a nice wiki page that talks about all of these in detail. You'll see 3 tab links under the page title. I'll show a lot of these off during gameplay, but I'll put this link in the description of the video for you. Genre. This game falls under the survival horror stealth TPS genre, or third-person shooter. Now let's go over the game releases by year. So starting with Evil Within 1 on PC, came out in 2014. Evil Within 1 Assignment came out on PC March of 2015. Evil Within 1 Consequence on PC came out April 2015. And then Evil Within 1 Executioner came out on PC on May 2015. So yeah, that was a lot that they did in a pretty short period of time there. Then the last game that have been released is The Evil Within 2 on PC, which came out in 2017. That's the same year that Resident Evil 7 came out. A little more detail about the release information. So Assignment and Consequence is one DLC split into 2. Assignment is chapters 1 and 2, and Consequence is chapters 3 and 4. Executioner is a DLC I briefly messed with years ago but never finished. It is what I call challenge horde mode type gameplay. Usually gameplay I avoid on my own time in games and my channel for various reasons. Since I've never beat this and would like to give it a fair shake, I'm going to make an exception for Evil Within. Expect me to die a fair amount until I figure out what I'm doing in that DLC. I have played through Assignment and Consequence probably a couple times each. So how long to beat on this game? Evil Within 1 take anywhere from 16 hours to 20 hours to beat. Evil Within 1 Assignment 3 hours to 4 hours. Evil Within 1 Consequence 3 hours to 4 hours. Evil Within 1 Executioner 2 hours to 3 hours. So roughly a total of about 35 hours plus. I'm going to be exploring and not rushing through this game. So in the next video, we'll be getting into the configuration and technical side of things. I will record the desktop of my PC as I usually do, folder view on the left and my notes on the right of what we'll go over. Thanks for watching and listening. I really appreciate it. Bye.